this is going to be a little bit of an update to the gunnery rotation video that I did ages ago. Not a ton has changed for commandos since the last time, but there was a couple of things that I've become more familiar with that I'm not sure if some of you may have missed out on. And this is kind of in regards to defensive cooldowns. So just to start off, because this is a conversation I've had with a couple of guildmates that are fine players, but it's just something that people tend to overlook. And that is, when you're opening up on a target, you always, if at all possible, want to start with Bolt Storm. So that's your first move. Next, Vortex Bolt. If it hits, it'll proc your grab round, and that refreshes the cooldown on Bolt Storm, and you can fire a second. Now, a lot of people like to open up with their Vortex Bolt and then go into the grab round, which is fine. You can do that, but if you look at it, where is it? Let's see, grab round, it does, let's just assume best case scenario, 4425, that's the max damage from that. Vortex Bolt, 6110. I'm bad at math, so let's say that's about 10,000 damage or so. If you look at the max damage for Bolt Storm, 12,397. So even adding up those two skills, in the best case scenario, Bolt Storm's going to be doing more damage. And by doing it that way where you open up with it, you're setting yourself up so that once you get that first grab round, you get to use Bolt Storm again in fairly quick succession. And then, boom. Demo round's more like the icing on the cake. Now this guy isn't wearing PvP gear. If he was, after you hit your first Bolt Storm, it gives you a proc where your demolition round is guaranteed to crit. But this guy's in PvE gear. I mostly made this guy for the Dark vs. Light event, so that's why he's not really hitting as hard as J-Yield does. So again, open it with Bolt Storm, Vortex, grab round. And honestly, I like to do it on a Bolt Storm, but if it's your personal preference, you can throw your demo round before that. The point is, the more often you're using Bolt Storm, the better, because it's one of your most damaging abilities that you have. The other thing is, I was talking to a guildmate about how he likes to use his, I think it's called Charged Barrel. Let me double check. Yeah, Charged Barrel. Once you get Charged Barrel to 5 stacks, you'll notice that I've got a couple of things highlighted for me here. Your High Impact Bolt or your Medical Probe. Those 5 stacks will make your Medical Probe an instant cast. So if you're fighting someone and it's getting a bit tight, or let's say for example you're below 50% health, it's not a bad idea to use those 5 stacks of Charged Barrel for your Medical Probe, because that bit of healing coupled with your back to infusion can do a good job of keeping you up. I'm just going to get those 5 stacks and see what it looks like. Okay, so first, Medical Probe, and then bam. Not bad. Although I guess I have a healing relic that's kind of throwing that off. But you get the idea. It'll give you 2 quick succession heals that'll help you to keep going. Now another thing that gets overlooked sometimes is, let's see if we can find it, here we go, Decoy. So Decoy, Diversion grants 5 charges of Decoy. Each charge of Decoy intercepts and absorbs an incoming force or tech attack. Each time you absorb a force or tech attack in this manner, Decoy loses 1 charge, and it lasts up to 10 seconds. That might sound like gibberish, but think about it like this. There is another commando, or say a mercenary, just unloading on you. You've seen them hit you with a tracer missile, or they've just unloaded on you with their equivalent of whatever Bolt Storm is. Let's just call it full auto for the time being. I forget the name of it, but by all means, you can correct me in the comments section. So, once they hit their tracer missile, pretty much anytime after that, there's a good chance they're going to be lining up their Heat Seeker missile, which I think is their equivalent for demolition round. That's when you want to hit your Decoy, which should look like, whoops, wrong button. There we go. Should look like that. And that gives you those 5 charges. So once that demolition round comes in, so get that tooltip back up here, it should absorb and, intercept and absorb that force or tech attack. So like your demolition rounds, the tracer missiles, If you're dealing with a power attack, their explosive plastique, that should absorb it. So once their plastique lands on you and you start to hear the beeping winding down, once the beeps increase in volume and intensity, pop your decoy. That'll keep you covered, and that'll help prevent them from blowing you up like you're made out of paper. This is also good if you're dealing with, say, a shadow, an infiltration shadow. I don't recall the Imperial side name because I haven't really played one, so I don't really know what any of their abilities are called. Because some of their, I think they're low slash. I don't recall if that's a force attack or not, but a good chunk of their burst is force damage. So once you know they're winding up on you, just hit that decoy. It'll help you stay up. The other good things it's good for is if you're fighting, say, a sorcerer or a sage. A lot of their ranged DPS is force damage. I don't think they really have any... Yeah, you wouldn't really be getting hit with any weapon damage from a sorcerer or a sage. It's extremely rare for them to use their lightsabers on you, and if they have, something's gone horribly wrong. I rarely ever get hit by a lightsaber attack from a sorcerer or a sage. It's because they're a ranged DPS class, and if you do get close, odds are they're going to go for their knockback and hit their force speed or their phase walk to get away from you. So this is actually especially handy for something like lightning, where they have a lot of burst and a bunch of their force attacks can hit you in quick succession. Once you can tell they're onto you, just pop that decoy, and that'll help you out a lot. This won't help you too much with gunslingers, at least with marksman gunslingers, because most of their attacks are actually weapon damage. So for that, the only real cooldown you have, I guess, is like your reactive shield. You pop your reactive shield, that'll give you a bit of damage reduction and help with the massive burst that you're going to have incoming, because marksmen's, man, with that trick shot, they just unload on you. So yeah, that was the big thing I wanted to highlight, was the decoy perk for diversion, because I don't think a lot of commandos are using that. I mean, honestly, sometimes I forget to use it myself, and I'll be in the respawn gate thinking, what a dummy. I forgot to use diversion again. So don't feel bad if you forget, but it's just a tip that might help you guys out. So again, I guess it couldn't hurt while we're still here to go over the rotation again. This is the ideal rotation if you get a chance to unload on someone, especially if you have the high ground. So again, Bolt Storm, Vortex Bolt, Grab Round, Demolition Round, another Bolt Storm. Now, also the Bolt Storm and the Demolition Round are interchangeable at that stage. You want to do one or the other. The timing was a bit messed up because I stopped to talk, so it's usually, I think, around, it'll take you about 2 more grab rounds for a Bolt Storm to perk. I lost track of the timing. And then, your high impact bolt, once you get your 5 charges, and you go again with the Bolt Storm. So it's a pretty good rotation. And as you can tell, my ammo management is pretty consistent. Under normal circumstances, unless you start to mix in your grenades, you should be able to just fire away for a good stretch of time without too much trouble. When I usually weave in grenade attacks is if I see maybe 3 or more people grouped up. That's when I'll go for my plasma grenade. I went too long without shooting. I'll go for my plasma grenade, and I will follow it up with... one tip that I had read on the forums was, as far as AoEs, the rule of thumb is like 2 or more people. That's what one person suggested. And that's not a bad way to go, although if you're dealing with a Juggernaut and they hit Reflect, so for example, you hit your high impact bolts, or you're throwing your grab round, or you're throwing your Bolt Storm, and you see Reflect and a lot of red damage is coming back at you, stop, either hit Escape, or whatever ability you choose to interrupt it. I have the perk where I can move while using full auto or Bolt Storm, so moving won't cancel it like it normally would. But I usually switch, and I'll just use one of my hotkeys to throw my sticky grenade, and sometimes I'll throw my plasma grenade on top of it. I have one guildmate that, once he sees Reflect, he'll go for his water bottle, and it actually works really well for him. I guess it's up to see what you're more comfortable with, but you definitely want to switch because honestly, you're only hurting yourself. And the active time on Reflect, it's not super long. So usually between the sticky grenade and the plasma grenade, I think that usually eats up the time after I notice it. So the big thing is, if you're not using Diversion, you want to start. Unless you're fighting like a sniper. I don't know what the equivalent of marksman is for snipers, but yeah, it'll block tech and force attacks. So, you know, you're getting hit with lightning, the big missiles, assault plastique, stuff like that. That's what Diversion is good for. And the cooldown, what's the full cooldown on that? 45 seconds? Yeah, it's not too bad. That's not too bad. So it's not something you should be shy about using. So when someone gets on you, keep that handy. I think Juggernauts. The 2 DPS specs for Juggernauts. Well, if it's a tank, they're going to be doing a lot of white damage, so Diversion wouldn't help. If you're dealing with the equivalent of a Focus Guardian, that's like the bursty class, those are the guys that have a bunch of force attacks. So Diversion will definitely help you with them, but not as much with... they use Xian. I think they use the Xian lightsaber form. I'm drawing a complete and total blank on the dot spec is for Guardians. But I guess you'll notice it because they'll be Master Striking a lot. So if they're constantly hitting with Master Strike, then yeah, they're the ones that mostly deal with dot damage, and Diversion isn't as helpful with them. So hopefully hopefully these little bits of tips help you guys out. The Diversion thing is this is mostly for gunnery. I don't. Well, you know what? Let's take a quick peek. Gunnery and assault specialist and. Oh, okay. So Diversion does help them as well. It just increases your overall defense chance. So Diversion's good for both gunnery and it's good for assault specialist. Although I'm leaning towards thinking it's a bit more useful for gunnery because it'll just intercept an attack overall. Although I guess it'll give you more protection, but it's more situational. This is just for assault specialists. It's just all around helpful because it should be hopefully reducing your damage with that 35% defense chance increase. So those are some more tips for you Gunnery Commandos, and I'll catch you guys next time.